Hi guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and today I want to talk to you about the process of individuation a little bit more. I've gotten my information for the video today from the webpage unioncenter.org. I think there were a lot of interesting informations and a lot of stuff that brought me closer to where I wanted to get, understanding myself better, and I wanted to share those things with you because I think there are some valid points there and things that we actually, if we really pinpoint it down and understand those specific areas that we have to address, that we can actually get there much further and faster, and really be happier, help people more, and to live a more fulfilled life without anything really hindering us to be our complete self. So the concept of individuation means the process of differentiation. So becoming an individual and embracing our innermost, last, and incomparable uniqueness. It also implies becoming one's own self. We could therefore translate individuation as coming to self or self-realization. So there's always, I think, this thought within us that we are all the same at some point and we all want the same things. And we have to realize that this is not true. Even we have some really common things, as we say, oh, everybody wants to be understood. Everybody wants to be loved. No. Yes, in some degree people want to be understood, and in some degree people want to be loved, and so on, but the specific way of what you want other people to understand about you, what you want other people to love about you, those are so unique within each one of us that they're not to be put in an all overall we all feel the same. And the journey is about really embracing those things, putting them outside and not being scared of them, because if we don't show people what parts are important to us, there's no way for them to understand how they are, and therefore they cannot give us what we want, even if they mean well. So there is a difference between individualism and individuation. Individualism is concept is ego-driven, and it fosters selfishness and lack of concern of others. Individuation is very much the opposite. It's repeated crucifixion of the ego as the ego confronts and assimilates contents of the unconscious. So let's say the typical undeveloped INFJ. Let's say me a couple of years ago. So I was all about, oh, you have to look at it from a different perspective. You have to look within, look at all those beautiful things that we could experience together. And I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to put up a fight. I was above it. I didn't want anything, I thought it was a weakness to kind of like power play. But this is also an ego thing. This is what I mean with individualism. You kind of wanted to stand out, or I wanted to stand out as somebody who doesn't need to get into confrontation. Who has like some kind of knowledge and wisdom and all this kind of stuff that I could kind of save others. But I had this urge to save that one person. I had the urge for them to understand where I'm coming from, and this in itself is a boundary. There's an ego that was at play. My ego, my INFJ ego, was that there's no dominance in me. There's no force in me. There's nothing in me that wants power. And this is just a lie, because as an individual, somebody who has actually SE in their system, and we have an inner ESTP within us, and a complete person is aware of those points and embraces those points, because I was definitely scared of them. I was thinking, if I embrace them, I'm not better than anybody else, and how can they love me then? How can they accept me? But it is a part of you. It is a part of you, and the longer you neglect that part of you, the longer you kind of like repress it, the more it boils and it'll get out, because that inner ESTP is not all bad. It's your shadow, and it does have some negative aspects to it, but there's also a lot of creativity that is within it. So if you have, if you repress that part of you, then yes, you can maybe not like hurt others or make others feel bad, but you can also not bring out what's your most inner ideas. You can't like really have the strength to put them out there and bring that idea into fruition, or really make something out of it, and therefore really help people. Because as you know, an idea is not that powerful or that helpful as long as it's only in your head and you do not share it with anybody. So yeah, and Jung, one of the things Jung talked about, or he did within his study, is he realized that we have a persona. It's a mask, and in many cases this persona is not our true self. We have to compromise, adapt, even in extreme cases betraying our authentic nature. As I said, for example, in our cases, repressing that ESTP within us. And the process of individuation requires getting rid of that mask and to face ourselves and the innermost. And it's not, for me personally, I have realized it's not really helpful to tell other people, oh, I'm an INFJ and this is how I work. This has not really helped me. I've learned that the truth is, if I want to make an impact and I want them to kind of understand me, I have to live my truth, and I have to let that reflect on other people and within their system. This is a point of constructivism. I did a video on that. Check that out so you understand what I'm talking about. Because they will never see the world the way you see it. And by you telling them, oh, I'm an INFJ and, I can see through your mask and so on, they're not going to believe you. The only way they're going to understand what you're talking about is actually you make an impact on their system. Okay. So, but yeah, self-knowledge and part of this individuation means also becoming conscious of the unconscious, facing our shadow, and becoming aware of the reality of our inner partner. The animus and the anima, meaning there's a part of you that you don't show, and you need to let that part out. In most of us INFJs is the part wanting to win, to excel, to be the best, to create the best for ourselves. As I said, the inner ESTP, which we may have neglected because, and this is actually very interesting, we neglect that because we actually project a part of us outside the world. There's something we don't want to deal with. And we kind of like can't really integrate that SE part. So we look for somebody who's strong-willed and who can take that part of us outside. It doesn't, if it's a woman, it's a man, it doesn't matter. But we're kind of attracted to people to make things happen because then we wouldn't have to. And as long as you don't kind of show your strong SE side all the time, or you embrace that, as long as you don't do that, then those SE strong people might want to help you in that regard, and you want somebody to take care of that part for you. And this is actually not the right way to do it. The right thing to do is just kind of like embracing that part of you, becoming whole, and then meeting somebody else who's whole, and then going to the same direction. So but I'll get more into this a little later. So being authentic allows others subconsciously to achieving individuation, and it allows us to act in conformity to our true self. So when you always neglect that EST part of you, then you kind of let other people, you allow other people to also neglect their part. That you actually go there and say, oh, please put that vulnerable part of you outside, that side that is understanding and that is insightful and this is receptive, which is, an I thing that is receptive. And you say, why don't you like really embrace that part? But it is as difficult for them to embrace that part as it is for you to embrace your part that is not receptive, the one that is actually sending out, that is actually bringing out stuff. And if you're really keeping a side of you repressed, don't expect others to be better at that. You actually, as an introvert, you actually as a perceiver are one of those people who actually do have a chance to change that, to really embrace those facts much easier. And once you do that, once you're really really show all those sides of you, it's much easier for others to do the same. And yeah, and once we do that, I've seen that personally. You have so many benefits for that. If we stay on path, stick with the work, we come to enjoy a widened circle of consciousness, our sense of separateness ends, and we get broader, more intense relationship with others. I cannot tell you how true this is. I used to think, oh, if I put that dominant part of me outside, that one that wants to be the best, that one that wants to win, that one that wants like stuff for myself, I thought nobody's gonna like me. I thought this is people are not gonna understand. They're gonna think I'm mean, and I was pushed to a point where I had no other choice but to put that side out of me. And I realized how I'm now much more open to everything. Because I know my boundaries. I know that I can create everything I want for myself, and that I have to, and that this is the best way. And now, since I know my boundaries, I'm much more open with other people. I'm much more open to be with them, because I don't look inside of them and want like this close of a relationship, and therefore I need to be safe. I'm not scared of close friendships with people who are different than me, because I do not try to save them in that point. Because there's not, I understood that I'm whole myself. I don't need to like save somebody else, that one person and other, to get my fulfillment, because I'm doing that through the way I live my life. So yeah, so this is actually something I wasn't aware of and I didn't think was possible. I can assure you it's the best thing you can do. Being authentic, putting that side out of you, that you think you don't want to hurt others. Don't fool yourself. You might hurt them, but you're actually just scared that people are not going to like you, and that you kind of take control of your life and you don't let other people, show you the way. Yeah, but when we kind of do that, we feel also liberated from the unconsciousness of our parents, which permit our feeling a genuine sense of true individuality. At the same time, we experience a greater feeling of freedom from our past. We also experience an absolute binding and indissoluble communication with the world at large. I can so co-sign that. So, for example, I used to always think I need to make myself smaller. I need to make myself smaller because that makes other people uncomfortable. Because that was kind of like the experience I made with my father, or whatever kind of like stuff I had going on in my childhood. And knowing, and once I gone through that barrier, I see how I'm much more open to everything else around me. Those borders that I was putting on myself were just like boundaries I was putting that didn't help me anything. So, and then there's also social benefits to our individuation. Time and again, Jung stressed in his work that individuals matter. Any one of us could be the make weight that tips the scale, and so in our taking up the task of individuation, each of us is undertaking. This is so important. You see, like, I always felt like I didn't really matter, or what I thought was, it's not gonna make a difference. You never know. It's like like a butterfly. Just like butterfly moves in a certain way somewhere on the other side of the world and has an impact somewhere else. You impact people all the time, and by you leaving stuff of yourself out, like really not living your true self, and I'm just saying living, not preaching, really living, and by people seeing the way you live and what you do to make your life for yourself better, is being the biggest can bring the biggest benefit within the world. So there are 3 things that actually we need to take under control. It's internalizing locus of control, internalizing locus of authority, and internalizing locus of safety. And these are the 3 things that I want to talk to you. And yeah, but I'll do that in the next videos. They are the stepping stones to actually becoming really our true self, and to being independent, completely independent. So often we have the impression, oh, we can do whatever we want, but there's certain things that keep us from doing stuff, thinking, oh, if I would do that, I would be a bad person, or if I would do that, nobody would like me, or whatever it is. And there are things we feel like we don't have the right to do. And so we should be aware that there are always boundaries there. I'm convinced there are also still boundaries in me. Of course they are. I think we constantly just grow and experience more of that part of us, and we have to be aware of those parts and really work on them. And this is really interesting stuff that I found. So yeah, watch the other ones. Okay, bye.